To win your asylum case, you have to convince the asylum officer or judge that you are credible. If they think you're lying and can point to specific things that call into question your credibility, then you won't get asylum. And there are 3 very specific things the officer is looking for in assessing your credibility. In this video, I'm going to tell you about the 3 problems that can lead to a negative credibility determination, and with it, the denial of your case. Stay with me to the end because number 3 is by far the most common. You really need to avoid this problem in your asylum case. I'm Brian Manning, and I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now as an asylum lawyer, well, I help immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. In every asylum case, the decision maker, a judge if your case is in immigration court, and an asylum officer if your case is with USCIS, has to make a credibility determination. They have to make a formal finding as to whether you are credible. Basically, this means they have to decide and put on the record in writing whether they think that your story is believable or, on the contrary, they think you're lying. What's really unfortunate is that, at least in my experience, the officer will often use this, a negative credibility finding, as an excuse when they just want to deny someone, even if that negative determination is not justified. It's the go-to reason for denying someone when the facts they presented should entitle them to asylum, but the decision maker just doesn't want to give it to them. But here's the good news. The officer or judge has to have at least a somewhat plausible reason for making a negative credibility determination. They can't just say, I get the sense that this person is lying, or they just don't seem credible to me. Rather, they must follow established guidelines before they can deny a case on credibility grounds. And those guidelines list 3 specific issues that can support a negative credibility finding. In other words, the decision maker has to show that one or more of these 3 problems existed in your case in order to deny you on credibility grounds. And knowing what these 3 things are will help you to prepare for your asylum interview or your hearing in a way that minimizes the chances that one of these will hurt your case. So here they are, the 3 types of problems that can lead to a negative credibility finding, which leads to a denial. Number 1 is lack of detail. Failure to explain your case and answer questions in a sufficiently detailed manner can hurt your case. For example, if the asylum officer asks you how many people attacked you, what they were wearing, and what they said to you, and for each of those you say, I can't remember, well, that's going to be a problem. You're expected to testify at your interview or hearing with a fair amount of specifics. You are expected to recall and report details. To be clear, there's no expectation that you remember every little detail. After all, you may be discussing incidents from several years ago, involving stressful circumstances that may have left you traumatized. But I've got to tell you, some of these judges and officers do have pretty unrealistic expectations in this regard. So you do need to study ahead of time your declaration and any other materials you submitted to refresh your memory. By the way, if you want to maximize your chances for asylum success, then be sure to hit the subscribe button and bell notification so that you don't miss the insights that I share on this channel. All right, the second type of problem that can support a negative credibility determination is implausibility. The officer will be assessing whether each thing that you are asserting as a fact in your case is plausible. What does that word mean? Well, the dictionary defines it as an argument or statement, seeming reasonable or plausible. But in the asylum context, this word is understood more or less to mean possible. Like, is the thing that the applicant is saying happened something that could have happened? Or is it literally, or at least virtually, impossible? For example, if someone says that they evaded their persecutors by jumping in a lake and staying submerged underwater for 3 minutes, this would probably be found plausible. It's true that most people cannot hold their breath that long. The average is 1 to 2 minutes, but it's definitely not physically impossible for a person to go a full 3 minutes. It's unlikely, but not super unlikely, and definitely not impossible. On the other hand, if an asylum seeker says that they escaped their persecutors because space aliens beamed them up into a spaceship, well, that's not plausible. So if you say things that simply cannot be believed because they're flat out impossible or so incredibly improbable that they're almost impossible, you could be found not credible and therefore denied asylum. All right, the last and most common problem that judges and officers point to in support of a negative credibility finding is Inconsistencies. What is an inconsistency? It's when there are things in your case that just don't line up or perhaps even directly contradict each other. For example, if you say near the beginning of your interview that 4 people attacked you, and the officer circles back to this question and asks it again later in the interview, and this time you say it was 3 people, well, that would be an inconsistency. You've given 2 different conflicting answers in response to the same question. Inconsistencies can occur among things you say at your interview or hearing, as in the example that we just saw. Or they can occur between something you say in your testimony and something that you provided in your written materials, like your asylum application, your written declaration, or any evidence you submitted. Inconsistencies can also occur among statements just within your written materials, like if you say in your declaration that you received a threatening WhatsApp message on May 15th, but then you provide a screenshot of this threat clearly showing that it happened on July 15th. I've got to tell you, there are some anti-immigrant asylum officers and judges out there who just love to hunt for inconsistencies, and they sometimes even try to trip you up so that you'll commit errors that constitute, or at least look like they constitute, inconsistencies in your case. They'll play word games with you, ask you about things out of chronological order, and ask the same question multiple times in different ways to test you or to try to get you to mess up so that they'll have an excuse to deny you. All right, those are the 3 things that can lead to a negative credibility finding. We've discussed lack of detail, plausibility, and inconsistencies. Now, you may be asking, well, how many of these things does it take for me to be found not credible? The truth is that in some cases, if it concerns something really central to your case, even one of these problems can get you denied for lack of credibility. That's a harsh, unfair outcome. Usually it does take multiple problems along these lines before a decision maker will declare an applicant not credible. But sometimes it really is just one little slip up that leads to a denial. The good news is that you can prepare for your asylum case in a way that will minimize the chances for all 3 of these problems in your case. With the right guidance and practice and preparation, you can avoid a not credible finding and win your asylum case. If you're ready to take the next step and get individualized help with your asylum case, then please call my office today. That number is 713-352-1593. And remember, we help people all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you are. Call us now to schedule an Asylum Strategy Session so that we can help you secure your future in America through asylum. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's an honor to serve you in your asylum journey.